All right. So Paul, you got your horn?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so you want to start? I see James coming, trying to come on. Um, okay, let's go.
Okay. All right. All right. I hope you'll know this. People will know this one.
All right.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness, it's just such a beautiful day that I refuse to lend my energy to things that didn't work exactly like we wanted to. But so this afternoon we are talking to one of the greatest saxophone players that I know. And I am right now just really overwhelmed with that beautiful rendition. And thank you so much, Paul. Thank
Thank
you for
you.
your patience and your willingness to move, to move on with this historic event, because we're going to be talking to you about your career.
Hmm.
And also, one of the things that I wanted to make sure that we mention is the fact that Washington, D.C. is what I call a mecca for musicians. We have so many great musicians. As a matter of fact, two of them are on with us right now.
Yeah.
Michael McFadden and the bass man, James Cunningham. Um, they both, Michael is the jazz pianist, and James plays R&B and some jazz, and so I'm just pleased to be on with you. Guess what? Y'all's wives not listening now. We y'all
It-
three really handsome. I love it, men.
no, it's fine.
Well, Paul, let me just share this with you, because I always try to make it perfectly clear whenever I do events and whatnot that I love men and
Right.
black men in particular. I just want to make that
Absolutely.
clear.
Thank goodness.
Yeah,
Thank goodness.
I'm telling you now.
Hmm.
But one of the things that all the great musicians that actually came out of Washington D.C. proper, and the DMV, and that you are one of those. I wanted to pay a little bit of attention to Carter Jefferson,
Oh yeah.
who was my neighbor. We were raised together. I'm a little older than he was, but he lived right on Corcoran Street with us. And Jimmy Cobb, that we lost just not too long ago, who lived down the street in the 1600 block of Corcoran Street, Northwest. We all came out that little neighborhood of Corcoran Street,
Wow.
and Carter Jefferson actually started out with the El Coros, which was a DC youth group. Um, and so those are whole nother stories, because we came to talk about you, Paul.
No, no, but it's actually that's actually I didn't know that. And Carter Jefferson was very nice to me when I came to Washington. He was always a hero of mine because I used to listen to the records with him on it with Woody Shaw, and I always ask people about Carter Jefferson. He was one of my favorite players, and so and so when I got to finally meet him and I got to sit in with him and play, he used to come down to Philly's Finest and just play on a jam session, which I thought was very it was like this amazing. Here's this great legendary players would come down to the jam session and just jam, and he would share all is not any question that you asked him. He was very he's very giving. So
Yeah. Well, he had a wonderful mother and grandmother, you know,
mhm.
who taught him like that. Because I always used to tease him because I told him they came off the Jefferson plantation in
Okay,
Virginia. So I
okay,
just carry him back like that, so he could get tuned to who he really was. But
right.
tell me something, Paul. When actually did you start to play the saxophone, and when did you really know that you really could play?
Well, I still don't really know that I could play, but I started playing when I was about in the fifth or sixth grade. Soon as they introduced the horns to you in school, when they it was, I went to I'm from Houston, grew up in Houston, so that was an elementary school and a junior high school. I mean, when rock throwing distance.
Yeah.
So the band director from the middle school came over, and because he was trying to work on introduce instruments to people that was in the fifth grade, getting ready to come over to or sixth grade, getting ready to come over to the junior high school. But my mother had already told me that I was going to play a saxophone because she loved the saxophone. I used to hear it in the house all the time, and she bought me these plastic, little toy saxophones. So, and I used to always mimic myself playing the saxophone. So the first day that they said that you can, sign up to be in the band next year, I did.
Well, that's interesting because now I'm quite a bit older than you, but there was a time when our houses, I can't speak for anyone else, but uh, for black people, our houses always had instruments in them. And in addition to them having the instruments, um, somebody in our family either sang or played a harmonica or played something.
Yeah.
And I remember that my mom, bless her heart, she bought a piano. She tried real hard. She had a lady come into the house to teach me music. And then Professor Miller in our neighborhood, Carter Jefferson and I and my cousins, Professor Miller had a piano in his basement. He taught us how to play Chopin, you know, things by ear. And
Right.
that's when I really learned to love classical music as well uh, as
Absolutely.
as jazz. But it's interesting now how the arts are not focused on, even in, it doesn't appear to be, even in our houses. Welcome, Lady Mary. I see you, sis. Um, so that's encouraging to me. So I was going to ask you, why did you choose the saxophone? But it sounds like your mom chose it for you.
Yes, mine chose it for me. I will just to go back on what you said. You're right about that. There was always instruments in the house, or something that was left over from a sibling who didn't play, and so there was instruments around. But that really still exists in New Orleans.
Uh-huh.
Like so in New Orleans, New Orleans is its own place and its own thing anyway. But in New Orleans, it's just as cool to be a football player as it is a clarinet player.
Uh-huh.
So that's it still exists to some degree in New Orleans to this day. There's a lot of kids playing instruments, and it's actually cool to be in the band. It's cool to be in the parade. It's cool. It's cool to play in Mardi Gras and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it's a great thing. And one of the places that I really want to touch on, and I don't know that you've been there or not, but the National International House of Prayer that was pastored by Daddy Grace.
Mm-hmm.
They are great trombone players
Uh-huh.
all over the East Coast.
Uh-huh.
Moshe Snowden is one, but they start those young boys, and I'm always talking to them, even though I might get put out. I'm,
Right.
I'm always talking to them about why you all don't teach the girls to play. But
Yeah.
all the boys started playing like my grandson did at the age of 3. And
Wow.
I mean, you talking about, it sounds like New Orleans. If you ever go to that church,
Is that the
that
church on Seventh? It's near Seventh Street.
6th and
Uh,
M,
it,
6th and M Street.
yes, I mean, yeah. I know exactly. I know what you're talking about. I know. One of my best friends actually grew up in playing trombone in that church. Yeah.
Yeah, they're some of the greatest trombone players that you ever heard. And I always tell Moshe that trombone shorty ain't got nothing on him, nothing really.
That's
Uh,
right. That's
yeah.
right.
So, so when did you start to play professionally?
I was still in college when I got my first gig when I was in college, and it was playing at a restaurant. I was still in Texas at that point because what I did was I went to Texas Southern University, another historically a black university, and then I transferred up to Howard. So, but I was really, I mean, it was like my first or second year year in college. So I would say I was probably a freshman or a sophomore in college, and I actually got a gig that I paid for. I was so bad, I probably should have given the money back. But yeah, we were playing at this restaurant, and it was I learned a whole lot on it, a lot on that gig, playing.
You said, I noticed you saying that your big sister encouraged you a lot
Oh
to
yeah,
play.
yeah. Well, I grew up. I'm one of six children, so I grew up with five sisters.
Yeah, okay.
So and four of them were older than me, and so my mother, and she worked around the clock. My dad had the regular, regular job, like 9 to 5 or whatever, but he worked overtime. And then my mother, she was a registered nurse, so with all of those kids, she used to work the shift 11 to 7. So a lot of times, if that was overtime, she would keep on going, and she would do a 16-hour shift, many hours, especially as we got a little bit older, and my sisters could take care of me and my younger sister. So she would she would do those types of things. So my older sisters, they had a lot to do with raising me.
Well, no. See, now I know why you act the way that you do. Because when you told me you were one boy in the midst of six sisters, I was like, uh-huh. I
Right.
know. But I said, I already got him now. I know what to do for him.
Exactly, and I'm going to tell you something. Being raised by women, a lot of girls is not as easy as you think it is.
Okay. I
You
know.
know.
Well, I come from a female dominated family, so I can dig it, because we'd be all in charge, large and in charge.
Absolutely, absolutely. I learned about everything. I learned about what to do, what not to do, snitching, the whole 9 yards. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, the whole 9 yards. So if they would, if I snitched on them one time, and I'll never do it again. Mom came home and asked who was on the phone because she was trying to call. And so all the girls, they were older than me, so they were like, they was like teenage girls, so they were talking on the phone a lot. And so my mom was like, "Hey, we need to have this when I'm at work or whatever. We need to have the phone, open for a while." And so of course, and she said, "I cut," So me, I don't know how I was. I think I was about 5 or 6. Anyway, I was old enough not to know better. Whatever. So I told my mother who was on the phone. So of course, my mom shut down the phone. Okay, nobody uses the phone now for 3 days or whatever. So one of my sisters said, when mama go to work, we're gonna get you.
Yes.
So of course I wasn't. I didn't really think that they would do anything. My mom went to work. I was asleep. Somebody snatched me in my chest. Boom! Threw me on the ground. As I was going down, one of my sisters hit me in my stomach. And then the last thing I remember is my sister saying, don't kick him in the head." After that, I don't remember what happened after that. and they after that, I was straightened out. I knew what it was. So I didn't say anything, and I was cool.
Yeah, I can dig it because I was training my grandson the other day. He's 18 now, and I was saying to him, I was going in my pocketbook, and he was looking. And I said,
Right.
boy, don't you know better than look at women when they're going in their pocketbook? What is wrong with you?
Don't even. Yep. Absolutely.
Don't even look at it. Don't
Don't
even
even
look
look
at
at
the
it.
pocketbook.
That-
No.
And if they ask you, bring me my purse, you check with them again. Are you sure you want me to bring you the purse?
Well, Paul, why don't can you just hit us one more song and then we're gonna get back into your interview?
Okay. All right. All right. Let me see. Uh, I had to. Wait a minute. Let me try this here. Let me see if y'all can recognize this one. Okay. Uh,
So Ida Campbell is on from Don't Forget the Blues on Fridays, and she said, "I will rise up."
yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I had to learn that for I did a church service with Westminster last Sunday, and so that was one of the tunes they asked for. And then when I said, wait a minute, I've heard this tune before.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Well, listen. Now I listened to you, and something that I was telling you about the blues the other day, and you said something like, "Well, I play that every day," or something like that, or "I do that every day." But why did you choose jazz as your genre?
Uh, well, because I guess because it was something I heard a lot growing up, and blues is the gateway to all popular music. So every music today has its roots in popular music, has its roots in blues. So I heard, so my mom played a lot of soul jazz, like Cannonball Adderley, Grover Washington Jr., and maybe the things that would be called as smooth jazz. So she used to play that a lot. So I was going down that road, and then at some point I heard kind of more of acoustic jazz, and that kind of like caught my eye, and caught my ear and my heart, and so that's where I kind of stayed. But I grew up listening to church, gospel music, blues, and smooth jazz. So I can kind of fake it a little bit. I can access those sounds a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Because it's in me. But I chose to do the probably the least popular out of all of those.
Okay, well, now you're an educator, you're a
Uh-huh.
band leader, you're a director. Tell me, and then you teach young kids.
Yeah,
When I was most impressed with you, when I first met you down, actually really met you down at the wharf.
I remember.
That And I was most impressed with your patience and your understanding of these young people because they're a trip. You hear me?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I know, and I have seen you in action with them as well. Uh, but yeah, well, thank you. But so now I really understand that they have so much coming at them right now. It's like when we grew up, it was, it was not as much things coming at us. Now that, and like you said, that was communities. You got people watching over us. If you did something wrong, sister, someone down the street would tell on you or kind of keep you in line. I saw your boy doing this. But now that it's just everybody's in their own. Everybody's so segregated. Everybody's in their own little worlds, and this all this information, all this disinformation. Society has changed. So anyway, to make a long story short, I'm very compassionate when it comes to the kids because they have a tough way to go.
They
Uh,
do, but one of the greatest things about you, though, is that not only do they respect you, but they like you. And you are not, and it doesn't seem like you are elevated above them because I noticed the way that you related to them in the studio at WPFW when we did live at 5. They feel like you their buddy, but on the other hand, they respect your authority. And I noticed that even the young man that I brought in that plays the blues guitar, his whole perspective about the music was different with you. And I saw all of that, you know.
Right, yeah, yeah. I try to be, I respect them, but I was raised in the music old school, so I still have some of those old school, I guess techniques, in my disposition with them is, like that. But no, for the most part, it's all about and when you were at the studio, that was an older group, so they had been with me a while, so they knew. So some of them had been with me since like the sixth or seventh grade. So and they had been with me, so they knew my whole thing, my whole spiel and stuff. And as they get older, I give them a little bit more, as you would any young person. You give them a little bit more rope, a little bit more latitude as they get older. Now, if that would have been my younger group, then I would have been, actually talking, a little bit more assertive and locking them in, saying, not giving it as many choices. And as you see how like you saw down at the Kennedy Center, and thank you so much for inviting us for that. I'll never forget that. And how I was talking to that was my older group. And
Uh-huh.
so as you saw, I give them a little bit more latitude. In your opinion, a little bit too much latitude because you had to straighten them up. I'm going to tell you, everybody on this call, Dr. Truesdale, I was giving the kids, the directions. We getting ready to go on the play at the stage at the Kennedy Center, and so there's a little bit of chatter going on. So a little bit of chatter going. You know how it is around kids. Dr. Truesdale said, "No, this is your director. He is trying to talk to you and blah blah blah." I'm gonna tell you something. When she finished talking, you could hear a pin drop inside the Kennedy Center. The only thing that you could hear was the fluorescent lights going.
See the thing, just like I told you in the other interview that we did, that's just grandma love, because I know my grandmother used to do us like that because there's 7 of us in the house just raising Cain. And
Right,
she just had, she just stopped everything. When she said something, everything just stopped. I mean,
right,
and it's not that we didn't care what my grandfather said, but we knew we could run over him, so we paid no
right, right, right,
but when my grandmother spoke, everything got back in order. And I see my girl Brenda Jones on. Hey, Brenda. Yeah. But
you doing?
I let's talk a little bit about this education thing because
Hmm.
I'm curious. I see Grover Massenberg. Grover's a great photographer. Um, um, let's talk a little bit about the institute. And I think I'm a little bit confused. You teach college classes and you teach at your institute as well?
Yeah, yeah. So the I started the jazz academy, my jazz academy back in 2002. Okay, and that's mainly and that's mainly a summer camp, and as two groups during the year. One of which, the bigger, larger group, like we call it an orchestra, but really it's just like for Michael and the other musicians on the call. It's just an overgrown big band. So we play big band charts, and instead of exclude, because a big band is only five saxes and four trombones or whatever. So I just have all of them play. If they've been in the academy a while, so we call that an orchestra. And so what you saw at the Kennedy Center, that was the orchestra, and then I have a smaller group. And then and what you saw at the waterfront that day out there, those were just combos out of those groups. So those were smaller groups put together. So the academy is a summer camp, 3 week summer camp, and those two groups all year long. And it mirrors the regular school year. Our calendar, mirrors the regular school year, and it's one day a week. And then it's only one day a week, and then the other, I have both rehearsals on one day of the week, and then another day of the week, I'm the jazz band director at Gettysburg College. Okay, so I've been the band director now. We're virtual now, but I've been there for 6 years. So I've been the jazz band director there at Gettysburg College for 6 years.
Okay, so while we're at it, I just want those people who may not know or may not be able to see them on the screen, let them know that this actually is brought to you by the DC Legendary Musicians Incorporated, as well as the Kennedy Center Culture Caucus, and so that's what we are sponsored by to do this series, and our intent is to preserve and protect the music history in Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. And we are working now with the Kennedy Center to not just, do these Zooms, but also to put these in the Kennedy Center archives, as well as to put them on YouTube, so that when our young people have the opportunity to do research, this will be history there for them to I become very concerned about several things, and all these genres are all right, but I get really concerned when my mayor and my city council tell me that go-go is the music of Washington, D.C. Now, I know that the piano got how many keys it got on there? And they all play,
88.
and they play, all those 88 keys play all the music.
Right.
But when I go back in the history in my mind and see all those people from Duke Ellington to Billy Eckstein to all these other musicians that I grew up with, I know that it's a whole different ball game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Um, so we were talking about different genres and go-go, and I love Chuck Brown and Backyard Band and all that whole crew, but I'm not really understanding what they decided to do with that. Asking you about the Mid-Atlantic Jazz Festival,
Mm.
and I wanted to talk just a little teeny bit about not just that jazz festival, but also um all the things that you do surrounding that, and Ronnie Wells. And I think I mentioned to you that Ronnie and I came out of the same church. I was just surprised to go back and find that history about her.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Her
Well,
father
well.
was a great her father was a great singer.
Oh wow. Yeah. 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 Ronnie was amazing. I think about her almost every day. But yeah, the she started the East Coast Jazz Festival, I think in 1992, and then when she passed away I think in '06. I used to help her with the festival for as in her education department. I used to help her choose the musicians for her competition, and so me and two other people, and plus I used to play in her band. So anyway, I had and I'd go to the house and I would see what they were doing in preparation with the festival those years. But I never thought in a million years that I would be producing a jazz festival. Never thought that. And when they started to talk about putting the festival back together, after our passing, maybe about two years afterwards, they brought me in as the education director. But as you know, Dr. Truesdale, when it's time to do when it gets to the point of engagement, people start to how do you say, they start to fall out. And so, yeah, and so when it got down to the point where that we couldn't assume the old nonprofit and all these other logistical problems. So I'll never forget it. Susan Jenkins said, "Well, Paul, why don't you do the festival? Why don't you do it? You already have a nonprofit, blah 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 blah." And so I thought about it, and of course, I had to go home and run it up the flagpole to see if this was actually a possibility. And Carmen said, "Yeah, why don't we give it a try?" And so, and that's really how it happened. And it started off. It started out as just going to be year to year, just to see what we could do. Try to stay afloat. And only thing I wanted to do, I wanted to make sure that we had a presence of DC musicians on it, and I wanted to make sure that all the musicians got paid. So
that's all. That's hard.
That's yeah, but that's all and so I wasn't so once we would get to the number, or it would be cool. It's like, okay, well, looks like we're gonna be able to pay everybody. Then I'm cool, And so we did the virtual this year. So that's been 12 years. That's been 12 years of the Mid Atlantic. We've had a couple of ups and downs. Had some years where it's but that's just in everything. And when you're in business, it's gonna be good times. It's gonna be bad times. But the thing about it is we have a high school band competition there, and we have college bands playing there, and on Fridays and Saturdays it's just full of kids running around, all the way from toddlers all the way to people in wheelchairs, and grandmothers coming out to hear their kids and grandparents coming out to hear their grandkids play. I mean that's what it's really about, and also too having the kids that I teach, having them see some of the musicians that that they and having them have access to that they wouldn't otherwise, because other festivals, other publications always push the same musicians, and I know they have to do that because they think that that's how they're gonna make money and stay relevant or whatever, but I get to choose some of the musicians that I think that the kids really needs to hear, and that will actually things that they can learn from, and they will have experiences from. Some of the other musicians that they see all the time, maybe that's not the case, So
Right. So
mhm.
if you all, James and Brenda and Grover, if you all want to ask any questions or you want to join in the conversation, and Michael, please feel free to do so, because I'm thinking to myself as I listen to him how interesting it is, and not just interesting, but how much work it takes to do a festival. I mean, I know how much work it takes to do what I do.
Yeah,
Saying? And
you're right.
and just as you said, you don't ever know when somebody's gonna drop out. You're depending on them to, because I've been of the thought all these years, if I do it, I know it's done. But
Yeah,
as you move forward, you can't do it all.
you can't do it. You have to delegate. So and then, but like you said, if someone drops the ball, is everything comes back to you. So I remember one year I had just closed the jam set. The jam session ends at 2 in the morning. So and I just got to sleep, and about 4:15, somebody calls me and says I missed my ride. So I missed my ride to the airport, and I have this, and if I got this gig and wherever the place, it was, and who's got to take them? You know what I'm saying? It's me.
Yes,
So
yes.
so people always mention, man, you get a lot of credit for doing the festival, but I get all the credit and I get all the complaints.
Yes, and all the work.
All the work, all the work. So if anybody have ever seen me around now, I'm walking. I have on jeans and a t-shirt, and I'm walking around, moving drum sets and pianos and boxes and fielding all types of questions.
Well, one of the blessings and even with all that hard work, Paul, you're a blessed man because Carmen is a jewel.
Oh, absolutely,
I mean,
absolutely.
I'm just amazed at her patience and willingness to do all that. Because let me tell y'all, brothers, when you find a woman that is willing to work with you in all the things that you believe in, and she just sort of kind of puts her stuff aside and says yes. When she says yes to you all at that altar, it's more than just yes,
You're
because
right
it's
about that.
all your stuff
And
as well as her stuff too. Okay,
yeah, right.
but I
That's putting this aside, but yeah, no, she's like I said, I couldn't do it without her. Certainly to the level, any kind of level that it might even be on now or whatever, because she is a facilitator. So she's a facilitator, and she can make things happen. So so that that's how we can get it done. She handles a part of the administration, and I do all of the pretty much all of the other stuff.
it's just wonderful, and I tell you, you and the three men that are on here with me, and not to disrespect my girl Brenda, but the three of you all that are on here with me are great facilitators as well. I mean, um, Michael will tell you, and you probably know too, Paul. I'm working at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning. You'll
I
see me.
know. Hmm.
You'll see me. That's why I don't have a man. Who in the world do you think is gonna tolerate you waking up and up in the bed talking about I got an idea and you just started working all of a sudden? But you are. I get this feeling. Your mother must have really been great. I'm not taking anything away from your dad, but your mother must have really been great because she has inspired you spiritually, mentally, and physically. Because I even see you sometimes talking about you going out to run and do some exercise. I'm like,
Oh
oh my
yeah, yeah,
God.
yeah, yeah. Well, we gotta try to the try to stay in some kind of physical shape. So I don't want to. I mean, and anyway, yeah, I try to eat right and try to stay in some kind of shape because I don't want to. You want to stay around. You want to stay as healthy as you can as long as you can. You know. At least you
Yes,
want to
that's
help.
right.
You want to
Yes.
help out. You want to help out on that. But no, my mother was, she was everything. She's still what they say, guiding me from the grave. I still hear her voice,
Yes.
telling me things now, and all the lessons, all the lessons. So, but I saw her work like that. So I saw her work, like you said, the 16-hour shifts, and come home, go to sleep, and then go there because she had a lot of kids, and she's they my father and her, they split up when I was about in the fourth grade and stuff. So a lot of that stuff, a lot of it was on her, and that's why my sisters picked up the slack when she was working for us, keeping my knucklehead together, and my younger sister. So yeah, no, my mother was, my mother was it, and she got to see the festival. So she got to see the festival. She passed,
Oh,
yeah, she passed away in 16. So she got to see 4 or 5 festivals.
that's beautiful.
Hmm.
Now your life, and I say this because I watch you. I really am a true Scorpio, so a lot of times I don't say anything. I just watch, and let me tell you, I sometimes when I have the opportunity to speak or to preach in a church, I always say, uh, one of the things that people get confused about is, see, the scripture says watch as well as pray. It didn't say pray as well as watch. It says watch as well as pray.
Hmm.
And so when you do that, you are in you are informative, and you are um, inspired by God's grace. So tell me now, what are your next steps, and where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Ooh, wow. Well, next steps is now is trying to get past on the other side of this pandemic. This is something that we didn't plan on, and I don't think really anyone has a definite answer on it. But I would like to keep doing. I'd like to keep doing what I'm doing. Hopefully, we can get back to to normal. But I think doctor, you was talking about these Zoom calls and stuff, and I kind of think this Zooming and this live streaming is probably here to stay. And it's some version of it. So when we get back at it, like my spring concert, for the academy this year is going to be in person outside on a parking lot, and we also going to live stream it. You know,
Yeah,
so we yeah, and I can probably see that happening for the festival in February. It's probably be limited in person and that. I always say I would like to grow everything that I'm doing now. Like you're talking about 5 years from now. But now I think about it as like think about it as this point is like you say, I am making a little bit of impact on some people, and I would like it to be more. That takes more time. That takes more money, and more resources, and I would so I don't know if that's in the cards. To grow the festival, to grow the academy at this point. I would like to, but now I would just like to be I would like to be a positive force to at this point of my life to younger people. So wherever it is. So all the mistakes and all the things that I did earlier, now I can kind of at this point kind of impart that stuff onto them and say, okay, I hear what you're saying, but you really should think about it this way. And so I really take a lot of I really take a lot of pride in that, and it's fun to do that.
well, and let me tell you how important that is. I mentioned Professor Miller to you earlier when we were talking.
Yes.
Professor Miller actually lived on Corcoran Street, closer to the 14th Street side, and I lived closer to the 15th Street side. And like I was telling you, all of us went to his house. To We were supposed to be learning to play the piano. But guess what? That was 75 years ago, Paul. I
Wow.
still remember him. I remember his name. I can close my eyes and see him.
Mm.
And when I go down past our family home, I can identify his house and the basement steps that we went down to call ourselves practicing. And guess what? He never raised his voice.
Oh yeah.
He,
Yeah.
uh, he never stomped his foot, and he never put us out.
Right.
Oh, I'm telling you, we were boogie woogie. I'm telling you the truth. Bad kids. Okay.
No. What it is that you never know when the fire is going to catch a kid. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it might not be today, or it might not be that. I mean, but look what you're doing now. You see what I'm saying? So it might not be in that. It might not be in that at the piano, or it might not be in that time. It could be 2 years from now. It could be 3 years from now, and that light or that fire, the kid, the student will connect all the dots. So yeah, you got to be patient, and you take them all. You take all of them, and you try to. If they show up, and my motto is, if they show up, it's on me. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? If they show up and they're halfway interested, like parents ask me, well, how old does he have to be? How old does she have to be? I say, if they're interested, it doesn't matter. And they say, if they're interested, let's give it a shot. Let's give it a shot. You know.
Well, let me say this because you mentioned, the festival may be outside, and you all may be the institute might be outside. So let me just take this opportunity to invite you and the orchestra, or the band, or the quartet. We'll make up our mind which one. The Kennedy Center has invited me to do a uh, 3 day shows,
Right.
July the 29th through the 31st.
Right.
I
Hmm.
will get back to you and tell you which date, and let me invite you and the kids to that. It's going to be outside, uh, in a new area where the Kennedy Center has built. So let you know that you have that invitation, and so I can beat the kids up again.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Now, it probably won't be the large group because we the large we haven't had rehearsals with the large group in a year.
Yeah.
So it'll be a combo, but you're certainly welcome to beat them up as well.
So now I tell you that, and let me take this opportunity to say that this has been an informative interview, and I've certainly enjoyed it. And I just want to thank everyone who helped me to make this possible, including Moshe. Even though we weren't able to use his link, Moshe Snowden is in Nigeria, and
Oh, wow, okay.
yeah, and I mean he's works with us just like he's right here. Um, the culture caucus, Silky Sullivan played a great part in what we're doing, and also James Cunningham and my grandson who is becoming. He thinks he's becoming a great photographer, Logan Butler Henderson,
Hmm.
um, and the whole group, Michael McFadden.
Yes, sir.
Yes. And all of the people who actually made this possible. Michael jumped in and gave us a link immediately so that we could do this today. And we're thankful. And also on April the 20th, we'll focus in on the blues. We're going to have the great harmonicist Jay Summerall,
Oh, wow.
uh,
Hmm.
who's going to be playing. And I'm just so anxious to introduce you guys. And I'm a dreamer. I don't know much about technology, but I know about dreaming and, and,
Right.
and, and making things a reality. So my
Hmm.
dream is that Michael McFadden, Paul Carr, Michael Boyd, and Manny Kellogg, you all do something in the quartet.
I
And
would. I'm ready. Yeah, I would like to do it. Well, you sure called sure called a lot of stellar names, not mine included. So I'll let you. I would love to do that.
yeah, and we should also call Michael A. Thomas. We just make sure we got the whole thing. But again, I want to thank you, Paul, for your patience, and I thank you for your love for the children. I thank you for that.
I
And
thank you. I thank you for it too. I didn't mean to cut you off, but really, you have inspired me. That when I met you when I met you at the wharf that time, it's like, my goodness, who is this lady? I mean, and it was just like, it was almost like you're just meeting this burst of energy and this burst of personality, charisma. You had it all. You were talking to the audience. You were triple tasking. You were doing all this stuff, and I'm saying, and then I found out, oh, this is Dr. Sandra Truesdale, and all of this history and all of this excellence over all these decades. Thank you so much.
I'm feeling blessed. I'm thankful.
Hmm.
I thank God for my strength and for long life. You know, um, I'm truly blessed. Because when you can make it to 82 and still, I'm gonna be 82 in November. So when you can make it to that age and still be functioning, I'm so thankful. So don't get me started because I'll be shouting in a minute. And then
That's okay.
so, so why don't you just give us a tune and thank you, Grover. Grover is a fantastic architect. I don't know if I'm saying the right thing. He's an architectural photographer. This dude got it all. He got all of Washington D.C. in photographs. He's a bad. Okay, I'm not supposed to say that, but and he's really a bad photographer. He's on it. And Michael is a great jazz pianist. And my girlfriend Brenda Jones and I've been friends. I can't even think about how long we've been friends over the years. And I thank her for tuning in.
Well, I
I'm
Thank
just want
you.
glad
to
I was able to make it. I'm sorry it was so late. I couldn't find the link for some strange reason, but I'm glad I made it on. And next time maybe we'll get a chance to talk about when the main streets were around and we had jazz on U Street
Yes.
back in those days. Trying to keep the music alive, and that's what it's all about, trying to keep the music alive and educate.
Yeah,
That's right.
and since you said that, Brenda, we used to have, and I can't remember, my brain just locked. They used to have vehicles that went around and they played jazz music, and I forgot what the name of that program was, and they went from neighborhood to neighborhood.
Oh, the Jazzmobile you talking about up in New
Yes,
York?
yeah, the jazz.
Jazzmobile, yeah, yeah.
They had that here as well. So,
Wow. Okay.
Paul, thank you so
I, I,
much.
I just want to
Go,
say something real quick
go
before I
ahead.
go. First of all, I want to thank you, Paul,
Thank you.
for sharing. But Sandra, like my greatest thing is I love to archive and keep up with our history. So I mean, between everybody is here, like any old photographs we have, we need to try to preserve it, posters, whatever, like we have to preserve whatever we have. But if you guys have old archival photographs that that's important, get it to Sandra. She'll get it to me, and we'll try to restore as much as we can to its original state as best we can. Um, I understand the hard work that goes into the festivals because I'm a union member with a local 22,
Mm.
and sometimes I used to work at the Kennedy Center, but I haven't done that recently because I'm teaching more so. But I think that we really ought to have some of these young kids interviewing, like some of these artists that are still here while they're here. I think it'd be a nice touch if we have young people interview
Uh-huh.
like some of the artists.
Intergenerational.
Generation,
Absolutely.
right? And that would be
Mhm.
one way that we can show the history and teach them the history,
Yes.
just like
Thank
he's
you.
working with the young musicians. But anyway, I thank you for inviting me, Sandra.
Thank you, Grover. Michael, you want to sign off? Have anything to say?
So Paul, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. I have a question. We're working DCLM. We're working on a virtual world because, like you say, it's not going to go away.
You're right.
And so we're trying to work on a platform that allow our musicians to record, and I mean to rehearse together, come together and jam. Have you experienced any or done anything in that platform yet?
No, no. I've heard that they're getting the lag down. Are you talking about where we can be in different places?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. I've heard it's getting better and better. I was actually on a regular call with a student last night, and it almost seemed like that we were in sync. So it is getting better, and I know they have some some software and
Yes.
some platforms about it. But I actually haven't been on one. Have done one of those. But I do realize, but the latency is definitely getting better,
It's getting better.
Even on Zoom.
Even on Zoom.
Yeah.
We experienced a problem on Zoom. Myself and James were trying it of the instruments dropping out,
Right.
coming through your audio interface.
Right.
So I know because you're a teacher, I figured that you were dealing with Zoom and the virtual platforms now.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I've been doing, but we still haven't been playing simultaneously.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we have not. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Well,
Okay,
thanks so much.
Thank you.
take
Sandra,
us.
can I say one other thing? Talking about exposure and all. I'm also not only did I testify for go-go to be the native music of DC. I'm a little older, but I grew up with go-go also, and also hand dance. So the soul, rhythm, and blues crowd, as you know, we dance down at Freedom Plaza, and we also go over to Chuck Brown Plaza. So maybe the jazz and blues group can go some, can come out and to help people remember that we're here.
Right.
You got to be exposed. That's the whole thing. Go-Go got bit because of the young people.
Right.
They came out, we testified, they testified all day, all evening that day. So we got to get a following.
Yes.
Okay, so that sounds like some really good ideas. As a matter of fact, I think I'm gonna put a couple of those ideas on our agenda for DC Legendary Musicians meeting, which is next week, and we'll put it on the agenda, Brenda, and we can discuss it further and then move forward. But now, Paul, I'm gonna ask you if you would just play us on out of here.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's hard to do that without a piano, Mike. I'm gonna need you.
Dude, I'm on. I'm with you. I knew the song. I was playing in my head, man. I was like, what key is he in? All right.